All right, happy Boxing Day. I'm sure you must be enjoying your festive season. And of course, right here on Every TV's Lifestyle Edition, every Thursday, we ensure that we delve deep into understanding issues to do with lifestyle. And today, will be all about money matters and not delving deep so much so into matters finances, because then during the festive season, I think we just want to go light. And while we're going light, it's equally very important that we ensure, we balance our finances so that we're not caught flat-footed when it comes to January, which is technically most, like what happens most of the time. So we have financial advisors who are going to take you through this session and advise you on how you can salvage the little that you've left. And of course, I'm sure you must have enjoyed the music that we just played. I'll be asking my guests what they know about Boxing Day, or what Boxing Day is, or maybe I should just ask them immediately before I even get to introduce them. Boxing Day?
To unwrap my gifts.
Oh,
Happy Boxing Day, dealing with the boxes and getting the
I
stuff.
thought you'd tell me the actual boxing aspect, which is what most of the people used to think.
You box the boxes that had actually got the gifts for Christmas.
Yeah, so Christmas is all about giving and all that. Sometimes we overgive and we forget what is left of January. Yeah, so we'll be discussing that as we proceed. Before I get to introduce you, let's first get to this understanding of what the festive season is all about, and the spending aspect of it and how best we get to balance it. So it is that festive season, once again, when you are allowed to bear the social animal in you. Celebrate Christmas and New Year holidays. It is a season where proper celebrations from the privileged are audited on grounds of mountains of junk food cleared, volumes of alcohol taken, cash spent on traveling, buying of new clothes, and slaughtering of hens, goats, and cows. Even those are confirmed to the legions of the majority poor will be in the league of carefree spenders, only to eventually end up looking for alternative ways of surviving, descending so low as to sell off their properties at throwaway prices, something as small as your phone, just to raise fare to get back to their workstations or to get their way around recouping their economic sales. It is one of the rare moments when every other person is in need of no prompting to burn some cash. So today, we shall be focusing on financial management, especially during this festive season. Management is key. Even before it gets to the financial season, I think it's always important that you start managing yourself by what many would say. Say for Christmas. Every other person knows that Christmas is coming. Why is it that we do not always prepare ourselves? So when we come there, then come January, where we have 40 days, it is terrible. So guess who joins me? Amos Ngahu is a financial coach. Thank you so much. Seated right next to me. And Wahome Ngari, who's a financial expert. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, and we go straight to it. Planning for the festive season, especially when it comes to matters finances, is key, I think. Amos?
Well, it is, but the difference comes in when you understand when you started planning for it. Because there are people who will plan with November's pay for December. The others who will wait for the December pay to spend it on the same time.
All right.
The other people who started in January to plan for December. So these are very different strategies for each and every individual. But now, how effective can it be to leave you as a better person?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What can we do, and can we put any kind of investment when it comes to December before we get to understand that? Because, all these durations, there's one that would be good enough, or equally depends on how much you're able to make or how much you have. But is there a way that, one can actually invest during the December holidays?
Yes, there is a way. We got standard investments. If I was a member of the cooperative, I don't leave because it is December. If I was a member of the Chama, I still continue in the Chama. If I have planned, like Amos said, early from January, and I have a complete plan, nothing stops me from continuing on with the investments that I actually set out. Yes, December is an opportunity to feel good about ourselves, but it's not an end to anything. It's just a part of the continuum. So we have to do those things that we need to do. And just like you said, January has 40 days. No, not 40. They are 62.
They're 62. Why 62? Because I was just trying to do my math. I'm thinking, okay, you paid on the 24th or maybe the 23rd of December. That is a pay that you're supposed to be getting towards the end of the month. Then of course you have to survive all the way up until probably the end of January or maybe the 5th of the next month, that should be February, so you get the next pay. So to me, that sounds like 40. Now you added it to 62.
Yes, and you understand, right? 62. You've actually just mentioned the many things that we actually do and spend money on in December.
Right.
We actually start sometimes in October or November, so we start much earlier on those things. And everybody else who's selling to us is prepared to actually keep our wallets very open. People have studied what we call buyer behavior, consumer psychology. So they make it easier for us to spend everything, and we spend what we got in October, November, December, and actually what we will get in January we also spend. So you're spending what we don't have.
What we don't have.
Yes,
that would mean living beyond our means. Wouldn't it just be wise for someone to say, okay, forget about spending? That sometimes, this is just December and I don't have to overdrink, I don't have to overeat, I don't have to buy so much of presents. After all, I don't have anything, so why should I stretch beyond my limits?
Finances is all about personal discipline, and that's where planning comes in. And everybody's capable of talking to themselves, but there's some people who actually don't want to have the discussion.
Right.
You cannot force anybody into a discussion. So it's a question of, if I want to have the discussion with myself, then I start early and I plan. I can spend because I planned for it. But just spending on impulse, just because things are happening, it's going to take a toll on me when a new year comes.
All right, so when we talk about planning, Amos, then does it mean that, yes, we're planning for the festive season, and it should extend to that level of the New Year's, because then the challenge will always be felt at this time when, of course, it's January, and you have to take your kids to school, and you have to go back to equilibrium and stability and face the year. So when we're talking about planning, whatever the time that you start planning, when you're talking about planning for the festive season, does it extend to the next year?
Well, it does, and I like to look at it as you planning and enjoying your life sustainably, because you don't want to enjoy Christmas this year, but come next year you've gone into so much debt, you can no longer sustain the kind of lifestyle that you're living in the previous year.
Right.
And most importantly, it is critical for us to have long-term plans towards that sustainability. For instance, if I know my school fees for my kids in January, I'll use the December, like my senior said, you'll use your salary for December to enjoy it, and then you'll use the same salary to pay school fees and even rent and all those expenses. What if you have a plan, a solid plan, depending again on your personality, because we don't give a one-size-fits-all solution to everybody. What if you come up with your own personal strategy that can make that sustainable? With either getting an extra income to sustain your lifestyle, or having your recurrent expenses met passively. So if you can have that over the years, then you realize as you advance, right now things may be a bit tight, you may look at your salary and you feel like, we are done with the financial year in December, right? So from January to June, you're supposed to file your returns. So have you ever seen that statement you get from your employer and you're told this is the amount of money that you earned and this is the tax that you've paid? Sometimes you feel robbed, but actually that money came your way. So if you can be able to look into the future and see how you can use this to make your lifestyle sustainable, it becomes easier over the time. But the vice versa is also true. If you continue, it's someone who said that, actually Warren Buffett, that says chains of habit are so hard to be felt. It's very hard to feel them until they are so difficult that they cannot be broken. You understand? So if you get into a habit of borrowing, you're borrowing from all the apps, it's going to catch up with you, because the limits will go off, you will be listed, you can no longer borrow again. It's only up to that time that you realize, hey, I'm doing very badly financially. At that time, it's almost too late to fix it. So always the key thing is to look at the habits that you have now, or the culture that you've gotten involved in. Is it sustainable? Can you sustain your lifestyle? Because you're looking at not just yourself, not just your family, but the society at large.
Wow, interesting. Talking of the apps, I wish they would just be closed down, because left, right, and center, if you would listen to the stories of everyone, like, close down these apps as yesterday.
But we were talking of the apps. I was at a barber shop, and this young man, he should be below 22, and he gets a call and he looks at it and he's asking his friend, do you have Truecaller so that we can see who it is? And when he checks, it's one of the apps calling. And the danger of this is most of us feel like it's convenient, yes, but that is all that is sold to us. I feel like policy should be put in place, because by the time Google is sitting down now to look at especially our economy and looking at the people developing apps for lending, they're now actually they're actually advancing the qualifications, and they're making it more difficult now for you to open an app that lends, which should be actually be an act of consumer protection from the government level.
I know.
So I feel like I concur with you.
Exactly. Sometimes it's actually not even you being called directly. I think I've received this phone call. It's pretty much sad, you know, when someone calls you and like, oh, I mean, someone wrote you as their guarantor or something of the sort. After they picked money from this particular app, and you're like, okay, yes, I know the person. We're not able to get through to him on phone. Kindly, can you tell him to pay? And it feels so bad, and you ask yourself, why does it have to go to that point? And left, right, and center, so you have to borrow from this app to pay the other app, and then borrow, and then it becomes officially a borrowing culture. So coming to you, I think then it's important that now that we're talking about the festive season, we look into the wisdom of course, planning in advance, and how best then you can ensure that you spend less. If not spend less, then you can spend wisely, so that you do not end up in a crisis come, of course, January or after the festive season.
I think it's something very easy to do. We're in the festive season. It's no surprise. We know it. And for a lot of people, if you're earning, you're an adult, you've been in this festive season. And there are many people who do us a great favor. They even tell us what we need to pay next year. I mean, school masters are great. They send the children home and they give them a fee schedule for the whole year. So you certain how much you're going to pay the whole year. The landlord is a great guy. You know, he even sets for you a date.
I wish
Then
you
you
would say
have
it.
to pay. He makes it easier. There's clarity in what you're supposed to do, and it tells you when you need to get it done. So you have done that will be done. The landlord. It's easier to do that. Looking ahead and saying, what do I need to do? What do I need to do?
Right.
Which ones are compulsory? Which ones don't I have? The ones that are actually going to sink me down into the apps. Because when it comes to be done, it must be done. I cannot survive without paying rent. We have we need transport back to work or whatever. Or we need, so those are things we can actually be able to do. The other thing is we can actually borrow habits that make it easier for us.
All right, Mr. Wahome, now crossing over to just understanding the nitty-gritty details and the essence of, planning yourselves pretty hard. We say it's important, but there are different ways, like Amos puts it, in how you can decide to plan yourself, depending on the timelines, depending on what you have. Then in this case, how can one spend less and, equally wisely during this particular festive season so that they're able to swim the tides?
I think the critical thing to do, and one thing is just set one eye ahead, see what are things I need to pay ahead that are critical, that I need to think about, and if possible, pay them now. When the children come home from school, they've got a fee schedule for next year, and there's nothing that can stop us if we have the money paying it early, so that then we know we've already paid that and we dispense with that. So looking at the things that are important is key, because if we don't attend to them and we're short of money, we'll find ourselves having to borrow expensively. The other thing in this season, we all suffer from something we call impulse buying. And impulse buying is just seeing things that we actually may not even need. We buy at a price we may not have considered, and essentially they're not the greatest things we do. We suffer from that. Again, personalities. We got people we call sanguines who actually suffer a lot from this, because when they see, they're very emotional. They like and they buy.
Why do I feel like I relate?
Okay, so this is something that if you know that's your challenge, then you actually have to take initiatives to make sure that doesn't affect you a lot. And there are simple things. You can actually make sure you don't have a lot of cash on you all the time. Because if you have cash, you fall into temptations. So like a question of falling into temptations. Sometimes you stop going to places that will get you tempted. Don't go to the shopping mall if you have no specific reason why you're going there.
Where are you going? Nice.
Because if you go there, you will actually find yourself here. Look at the company you keep. If there are people who are always tempting you, maybe you learn the lessons and you stop getting tempted all the time. So that's a practical, simple thing we can do. The other way we can actually be able to spend less but actually have the quality is to make an effort and do comparison shopping. When we're shopping, let's not run into the first shop.
Right.
Let's go to the other shop and the other shop, and just, especially when you're buying bigger things, because the person who does sales actually has got very great training.
Right.
He understands one way of getting people
They'll
to buy
get you to
quickly
buy, yes.
is to actually create scarcity.
Right.
So you walk to the showroom, you want to buy a car, and for some reason, they always have two. And this other one we sold yesterday.
Right.
And now this one has another person who is interested. And in fact, they will tell you, this model is not even coming. And this model is better
So you
than the one that's coming after. Create scarcity.
Yeah.
So when we're not comparing, we'll be victims to that scarcity and we'll actually keep on buying. And it's easy. You're going to buy a nice dress, but when you walk 3 shops down the street, you're going to find it
You're
at
going
that
to find
better
it.
price.
I know, and you
You're
feel
going
so
to say,
disappointed.
what is this? What did I do?
Right.
The other practical thing we can do is something we were taught when we were in high school, and we tend to forget easily. If you walk into a supermarket for milk and bread, where do they keep it?
Almost the same place?
At the very far end.
Yes, at the
Why
far
do
end.
they keep it that far?
Okay.
Why can't they keep it at the entrance?
So that you
buy
can walk
go?
and see all these other things, and then by the time you're getting to what you're going to buy, you've seen other beautiful...
Yes, they will appeal to you. They will take you on a guilty
Oh,
trip.
yeah?
You keep putting stuff in your trolley, and finally, and when they advertise, what color do they use?
Brilliant
colours that you can
colours,
see.
bright colours,
Yes, and
yes.
they know the man is very visual, so
Right.
they bring in all those beautiful girls, well dressed, so that you can actually be in their company for slightly longer, and
Yes.
that's going to get you shopping.
Right.
Now, if you think about it that way, then it is critical that before I go to the shop, I actually think, what do I need to do?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying we borrow from high school. If you remember your high school days, parents would always say, write down what you want.
Yes, and you go for
And you go
specifics,
for it.
and with
they
a
would
certain
actually-
budget.
They would actually cross out a few things.
Yeah.
Oh, sugar, do you cook for yourself?
No.
Why do you need sugar?
Okay.
It's close out. And they were right. That's why we're here. If they were wrong, we would not have made it
We
this
would
far.
not have been here, true.
Okay? So you see, you make a shopping list. That's what's called a shopping list. It helps you to think through before you come and buy. But we also stop stocking stuff in the house that we're buying things we already have. I'm buying tissue and soap and everything, but it's in the house. Now, obviously, I'm putting money where it should not be, and I might be short on cash. Festive season is a season we suffer from something very significant, especially parents, called pesta power. Think about children this season. Nataka.
Nataka, I know.
And they actually don't have to say it in words sometimes. They throw in a tantrum.
Right.
And now because you don't want the drama, you don't want all these things, you're
Yes.
blind.
Yeah.
And it is, I don't know if the children learned this psychology. The girl will throw it on the father.
Yes.
Okay.
And
The son will throw it on the mother.
mother.
It's called the Oedipus complex. It works perfectly. And it actually sells 15% of the things sold the world over.
Oh.
Now, if you don't manage that, it's going to be a big challenge. It is practical. If your children are too young to understand this logic, maybe leave them at home when you go shopping. Buy them stuff, bring it to them.
Right.
If they understand, involve them.
Okay.
Negotiate before you come. And that's going to be helpful. So there are simple little things that we actually do that can make a whole big difference.
Wow,
And I mean,
amazing.
and I know there are many more that we can talk
That we
about.
can still
but they
do.
are basic little things. The other thing is peer influence. Over the festive season, we get influenced a lot by a lot of people. My friends are traveling.
Let's travel to the
Mombasa,
coast.
to
I know.
Dubai.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody in the house is asking, are we also going? And you know, you feel the pressure.
Yeah.
And sometimes the banks have their vaults open, so they're ready to give you a loan to go on holiday. So we get tempted to do what other people are doing. And that peer influence is something we suffer all the time. You find you've got a nice phone, it can actually receive money, it can receive messages.
Yes.
But a colleague at work says, Mkebe Anani. And why do they call my phone Mkebe? They just want
have
to
to
make
get a
me
better
feel
one.
good to upgrade.
Yeah, to
I mean,
upgrade.
look at all those pressure that people exert on us. They cause us to even go into things that we don't. And that's why a lot of people are living beyond their means.
Okay.
Because I've sent children into a school I can't afford. I live in a neighborhood I can't afford. Or even I can afford. Then it means I don't have money to do other things. And, you know, they are simple, basic things that can make a whole big difference. But remember, they were never taught in school.
Well, okay, so if they were not taught in school, then it means they probably do not add any value, or,
No,
or
it
you can
doesn't
pick
mean
them.
they don't need-
They have so much
A
value,
lot
but
of
you,
important things were never taught in school.
yeah, that is true. That is the
So
reality.
you're going to learn yourself.
But
You're
equally,
gonna
there are
learn.
things that were not taught in school because they were not as good and they were not necessary. So we equally
Everything
need to
that
be
was
the
taught
eye.
in school was good, but everything that was missed in school was even more important.
Oh, okay, interesting. There you go. Now we come to you, Wahome, to Amos here. And Wahome brings aboard very pertinent issues in regards to planning and paying in advance. And generally, we know when January comes, it's about school fees, it's about rent, it's about how you fix yourself back into going to work and all that. And you know, would tell you this. Most of the people are looking at themselves and they're like, okay, this is what I have at hand. This is money at hand. And I am able to get a loan somewhere, you know, on the apps or something of the sort. So as they spend, they're like, okay, if worst comes to the worst, I know I'll go to this particular app and they're going to give me, or I go to this bank and they're going to give me. In most cases, we've been taught that it's good to borrow when you know very well that you're putting it on a very investment that is going to generate revenue eventually. But in this case, when we borrow to sustain the needs, the normal needs, like you, for instance, school fees, for instance, you know, paying rent and all that. I mean, what are the dangers that come along with this?
Well, I think what we have seen evidently is, you know, we may look at it as a financial, at a financial angle, but I feel like the most important thing here is your health. We have seen people go into depression. Why? The danger of what my senior was talking about, of living a lifestyle that is beyond your means. You're living a lie. And as you continue with it, you're borrowing to sustain that lie, to impress people who don't even care about your life. So what happens over time? It will get to a place whereby you can't take it anymore. You cannot handle these debts, you know? And again, depending on personalities like he shared, and even the season you are in life, that is where you realize, even the recent stories of femicide, if you do a bit of background, a good percentage of them are financial. There's a relationship between, because you realize this guy has been sending money to this girl, she's in campus, only to realize that she has someone else. But he has been investing, quote unquote, but for the wrong purpose. So what if this guy had been taking loans to send her money? And then all this money is gone. You understand? So also understanding that this thing can affect your health is very important. And also, most importantly, understanding your season. Because not all seasons are the same. We could be seated here with Mr. Ahomi, probably he has had a better year in business than I do. Right. But now, we cannot be in the same scenario. You understand? Just like in traffic jam, if you're on your way here and a matatu comes and cuts you, and they are rude and they show you all sorts of gestures when you hoot, you'll get annoyed. Yeah, you will. But what if you're the passenger in that matatu and you're late? You know, the feeling is different. Like, but it's the same scenario.
This is the best driver ever.
You know? You're in the same scenario, but you're in the same scenario, but in different spaces, different spaces and different environment. Right. And that is why understanding where you are financially should be able to help you understand. At this particular season, business was not good. What can I do to just give a bare minimum? And communication is key, because at the end of the day, when you have been paid, let's say is end month, and you have your bonus this year. I hope your boss is listening.
I hope so, man. I really hope so.
And you have your bonus. All of a sudden, things look cheaper. You go to the supermarket, things are looking cheaper, right?
I know.
But come January, things will look so expensive at the same shop. So understanding your season and knowing the kind of adjustments that you need to make.
Right.
And especially in terms of communicating, sit down with your kids. Don't tell them we can't afford. Ask them, how can we afford?
Okay.
You understand? And they're very creative. And like you were saying, you know, kids, when you teach them that budget, teach them a sense of ownership. Don't just go and pay every bill when you're going out. Give them equal amount of money and tell them, you know what, once you're done with that money, we are gone. Chances are they will come back with change because they want to come back the same day, because now they are owning it. I feel like these are vital lessons, like my senior had said, that should have been taught early. You know, that should be inculcated in this new curriculum that kids are learning. Out of your allowance, show me how you spend your money. And it becomes easier. So I feel like during this season, if this is the only thing I can afford, sit down with your family, tell them this time we don't have to travel, because it's going to cost us this, it's going to cost us this, it's going to cost us this. Do even your kids understand how much it costs you to go to, if you're traveling abroad or whichever? Do they understand the cost, or they just go?
They should understand.
They should.
Right.
So that they see, by the way, what you should have spent on holidays is equal to a whole year's school fees. So you make a decision.
Whether it's wise to proceed and enjoy.
Yes.
And
or even say, the little that we have, can we support another child who is your classmate, whose parents cannot afford? That way you're teaching your kids that we should not be defined by money, but we should use money to make an impact on other people's lives. I feel we should take that approach.
Okay, in the event that we do not take these key steps that you've brought aboard, then what are the financial risks that we risk carrying to the next year or maybe after the season?
And I think Amos has put it very, very clearly.
Yeah.
If you're living beyond our means, let's be certain we will go into the next season in debt.
Troubles, yeah.
Yes, and debt has its own many consequences. He just talked about health, and health is multi-pronged. It could actually be physical health.
Right.
Migraines, headaches, stomachache, ulcers, anxiety, high blood pressure.
Right.
And you can actually see it could be mental, getting stressed out all the time, not enjoying your life, not being happy with yourself. And just like you said, and family therapists will tell you, genesis of a lot of conflicts in the household is money related.
Right.
Okay, all these issues about people taking out their life is money related, and it is because this denial. Maybe we done the wrong things. Yeah, we can make mistakes, but when we make mistakes, if you're walking on a path and you slipped and you fell, you don't stay on the ground. You wake up, but you're careful next time when you go. So yes, when we cross the season and we have all these challenges, we have the debts that should have been paid that are not paid. I am a member of a chama now, not contributing. What's my relationship with the other members?
Right.
When I tell my children money doesn't grow on trees, what's the relationship? Can you see the impact we're going to have relationship issues? There are people where it even gets worse at the workplace. You stop being diligent with your work. You're not delivering your timelines. You're not delivering your quality. You're getting warnings. People lose jobs. So the consequences can be very, very dire. And that's why it is good to actually think of what steps to take so that we can actually be able to have a smooth journey that we can enjoy. It's not necessarily how much we make. It's a question of what we do with it. We can go on a holiday, but we don't have to break the bank. There are easier ways of holidaying without necessarily having to spend all the money. And we can defer our holiday. There's no rule that says we must holiday now. We can wait for the low season.
Right.
And when we wait for the low season, we will actually maybe pay a quarter of what everybody else is paying, and we have been able to take a holiday. So there are many approaches to it. I think it's all a question of being conscious and being deliberate.
True. Yes. All right, and we're not trying to say that now that you'll have failed to do all that has been given by the advisors, then you become as good as useless. I think all these consequences would come in as lessons. And so we're going to take that short break. And when we come back, we get to understand how do you get yourself back to equilibrium in the event that, you've been hit so hard on matters finances, so that at least this year it did not work well, maybe next year it will be a smooth ride and you'll have picked your lesson. So after this break, we learn that. Back to the broadcast, still on the discussion on how you get to balance your finances during this festive season. And the youthful factor is key, because every other time nowadays we talk about anything, we consider our youths, because now they're getting into that life where now they're trying to understand money. I keep saying this and I keep pointing fingers at my brother. Sometimes back, like when you're still a young person and boom, you have a job and you barely know what to do and you have nobody to advise you on matters finances, and you'll just spend your money anyhow, enjoying life. So years like 5-10 years down the line into employment is when he asks you, I hope you save. And then you're like, if only you asked me the very same question back then, I would have been very far. We would have started a conversation towards me being, a little bit bright on how I handle my finances. So when we talk about the youths and the fact that they have gotten to that point that is of concern, the borrowing culture, if there's anything that is making the applications, of course, boom in terms of, the aspects of borrowing, then it has to be the youths who today will tell you, let me just get something up from cash from who and who, and then I am good to go. So when we address this, how then can we ensure that we balance it for our very own youths? First of all, in terms of understanding, in them getting proper training, in them getting to that level that they understand that, it's good, because many a times it will not be inculcated by the parents at that level when they are growing. And like you rightfully put it, sometimes you need to be street smart, because you will not get some of these lessons in school.
Well, I think already we've seen some efforts, but only in fighting the fire. Previously, we've seen the chairperson of the Youth Fund trying to come up with a plan to get out the youth below 35 out of CRB. Why? Because a good percentage have been listed for as little as 200 shillings. Right. And in terms of covering our youth, because I'll tell you for a fact, At 26, where I used to work, I was told you qualify for a car loan. And I got it 2 years later. My bosses are telling you, you know, your car is too low. Why are you sitting on tarmac? It is a low car, so you have to upgrade. And the pressure is immense. We want to catch up with our friends, the guys we were in campus with, those who got A's, those of us who got C's. We want to show them that we can drive equally.
Forgetting the social media pressure.
Exactly. But that's why we are confusing the president. He's wondering why we are broke, because we've been posting all these things on social media.
I know, right? Really?
And he thinks my guys are doing
it's
well.
all well, yeah.
But the truth is, we have to understand the journey of life. And a very wise man told me of a story of the dog, the donkey, and the man, and them having equal days. But the donkey and the dog said, you know, we cannot back for all those years. We just need 10. But most of these years were given to the man. The importance of this story, it shows that between the age of 0 and around 2025, by the time you're finishing campus and you're getting your first job, you're actually a consumer. Right. You've been relying on other people. And even when you start working, you're not depending on anybody. And all the decisions are squarely on you. Until now, you go now to what we call the donkey stage, where now you realize kids are coming. Now my parents are ailing, I need to support something. And now you become the donkey, you're carrying everybody's luggage.
Right.
And depending on your career path, the donkey years are normally the shortest.
Right.
And for instance, if you've seen athletes like the way we now dominate in long distance, I've read stories of legends who they retire early because their career path is like 5 years.
Just 5 years or so, yeah.
The other careers that are shorter, if you're in your beauty pageant, you probably 2-3 years, and it's actually a year, right? So they need to understand that time is very short. The moment you understand that and know where you are, don't be hard on yourself, because there's so many personalities and which he had put. So you'll find there are guys who are spenders, there are guys who hoard money, there are guys who avoid money, and there are guys who are money monks. So understanding where you are, you can actually be able to see, can I pick a vehicle that will help me sustain my donkey years, but at the same time take care of my dog's years, because dog years are the time that now you're living in regret. You've retired, you're looking at your kids making the same mistakes. And you don't know how to tell them. So all you can do is bark. Right. You know, that's why they're called the dog years, because you live in regret. So they need to understand that the time you have, because by the time you're clocking 45 and 50, depending on your lifestyle, you don't have much energy. Right. So the most important thing is to understand that our careers, depending on what we are doing, are very short. So we need to understand that from the word go, even HRs, it should be a program when you're employing people. It should be a program. Understanding you're earning 20,000 today, you've joined us. So what's your financial plan? How do you plan this? Right. Get someone to train them. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do that as a HR, you're saying it's a cost. Sure. And you can train them, they leave. What if you don't train them and they stay? So you'll be solving other issues. They are borrowing from within. They are listed. You're solving domestic issues. So I believe it's, once you understand that, when you have a mindset that you don't have much time, then you can be able to now look forward and say, I'm going to take up this vehicle, suiting my personality, suiting my season, and I can build it over time. And let nobody lie to the youth. There is no money that is too small to invest. We have previously had a house help who was earning less than 8,000 shillings. By the time she was leaving, she had told us, I've finished building my rentals. So she had bought a motorbike. Nice. So she was making some money per day. She was making small rent from the rentals? Yes, from the rentals.
And equally the motorbike.
And they were as basic as giving her 1,500 a month.
Wow.
But when you look at the amount of money she's making passively from those sources, comparing to what we're paying her, she's making more out there. And this is a person who actually is diligent with the little that they are making. Right. So no one should lie to you that is too small.
Okay, amazing. Well, now these are the lessons that I think we want, even as we get to proceed towards the last minutes of the program. And how then do you get back to your feet after? Now we're back to the festive season, aside from that youthful aspect and the essence of understanding financial routes that would be good for one to take. How do you get back? to that point? After you've overspent, it's Christmas is okay, it is done, then what do you do?
There's something we call stock taking.
Yes.
Businesses do it all the time. We have to tell what items do we have, what stocks we have, which ones are moving, which ones are not moving. You take a financial stock take.
Okay.
Simple, something to do. Think through, what incomes do I have? What revenues do I have? I have a salary, I have an allowance, I have some rental income, I am selling a book and I'm making money. That's the resource that I need to manage. I'll get a dividend check from my SACCO. That's the resource that I need to think about. What do I need to do this year? So we set out goals.
Right.
And when we're setting out goals, now we're facing 2020, just barely a few days.
Yes.
We need to think through what are the things I need to do in 2020. Okay? And they are very simple things. I know people looking out, I want to buy items or furniture. Those ones cannot wait for 5 years. I want to buy electronics, I want to upgrade my phone. It might be necessary, isn't it? I need to do some savings. Okay? Because, you know, my child now is in class 8 and I know Form 1 is coming. I have debts that I need to deal with. So you set out the goals of the things that you're going to do in the coming year. But don't forget there are things you might need to do in 3-4 years to come, but you need to start now. Yes, as a family we might want to buy a car, so we need to do some basics now so that we're ready for that. We want to buy some small plot. You know, we buy plots here and there, but we will, it will actually take us maybe 3 years to do that. So we start thinking about that. So when you're setting out goals, you're sort of setting up a roadmap, and you're putting milestones. If I was driving from here to Nakuru, I can't be blind. I need to have an idea how far is Nakuru from Nairobi. So I can check my fuel gauge and say, okay, this fuel cannot go past Rumuru, so I need to fuel in Westlands before I go there. Now, if I go at this speed, I'll actually get arrested at Naivasha, so I need to slow down. You know, you're looking at all those things. So you set out the things we need to do in the new year. Then we come to what we call cash flow management, and that's where it is key. Looking at how do we manage the cash. And one of the biggest challenges a lot of people have is we have no idea how much money we spent in what.
Right.
Now, there's something that's key, and it is actually called tracking expenses. And we're saying in the new year, let's not be blind. Let's actually make an effort and capture the expenses. On a monthly basis, can I be certain where the money went? And it's easier. There are even apps that will help you to capture your expenses on a daily basis. At the end of the year, at the end of the month, you can actually tell, for entertainment, this is what I spent. And you can actually stop at that point and say, okay, is this a good thing I'm doing? Am I overspending? Can I change something? At home, we have, Madam has got a car, I got a car, the bus is dropping kids to school. Can we change something there? Can we maybe drop the kid in the morning, she picks them in the evening, and we cut out the bus? Now, do I have 3,000 shillings? Can that now be able to pay electricity or pay something else? You see, those dynamic steps that we take are going to get us there. But sometimes this is not something you're going to do out of nowhere. And that's why we always encourage people to go to financial literacy programs, not advice, literacy programs for a start before advice.
Okay.
The SACCO calls you for an education day.
Yes,
Do you actually attend?
You only go there to pick your dividends.
Allowance. No,
First allowance. Yes, it's the allowance first, and then the dividends.
Which allowance we do what? What do we do with the allowance? We actually go and consume it. What do we do with the dividend itself? We just consume it.
Right.
So we need to seek financial literacy. Go to the education day in the SACCO. Surely buy a book and read. It is possible to buy a book and read. Register for financial literacy programs, and we have programs in there. I run the Personal Finance Academy, and I know people can come and register for the program.
Right.
Before you seek advice, you need to have the foundation.
Yes.
You will not get the advice. You can't go to a nutritionist when you don't understand foods. When they say protein, you have no idea what is that. You need to have those
So before
basics.
you get to that level advice first,
you have to build your own foundation.
Nice.
Because you remember, when you get the advisor, he doesn't work with you every day. That's why you need foundation. What the advisor will tell you, now these are the steps, but you need to have a foundation.
All right.
Because if you do that now, 2020 will be bright, and the years ahead will be brighter.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. I would have asked what one needs to improve their financial situation, but then let's leave it for them as homework so that they can seek the trainings and most importantly, seek financial advice from the advisors that we have on board. Thank you so much. I must say that it was great. We have learned something, and I know it's time that you also need to go back and enjoy, the festive season with your family, so I won't keep you so much so here.
We have boxes to open too.
Yeah. Amos Ngahu, financial coach, thank you so much for your time. And lastly, Wahome Ngari, financial expert. I hope I've not locked anything that you'd have wanted to say. Apart from allowing you to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year ahead.
We say Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Enjoy your finances in the coming year. Build yourself so that you can actually be able to get it better. Look for a program, look for a book to read, equip yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think in the coming year, don't just count your money. Just make it count.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, need I say more? Remember, it's all about lifestyle, and that's more like it. Also, your finances are key. We might be saying that is in line with the economy, but equally, it's part and parcel of your lifestyle. So ensure that you make the best of it. Someone once said that you should take care of the pennies, and of course, the millions will take care of themselves, or they'll fix themselves. There you go. I also pick a lot of lessons on matters finances. I hope I put them to use, so I do not end up regretting saying that, oh, I was in class, but man, I never gathered anything out of the class, sorry. So there you go. Thank you so much. It was great having you. My name is Linda Alela. All year on, of course, round we've been with you, and I must say asante sana for keeping us company, and we continue to push this well, because then I'm sure it is going to land us somewhere that is good. It was great having you once more. Enjoy your holidays. We leave you with this great music, of course, Christmas carols.